Welcome to the program, Global Weekly News, serial number 103. First, European Union Parliament elections. European Union has 27 member countries. Parliament elections to European Union were held on June 6 to 9. Out of 37 crore voters in 27 countries, 51% voted. Right and far right forces got more seats. Out of 720 seats, European People's Party, otherwise Christian Democratic Party, got 189 seats, 10 more than the last elections. Following the results, French President Emmanuel Macron dissolved the parliament. The elections will be held on 30th June and 7th July. After the setback for Macron's party in the European Union elections, Macron announced the elections to French Parliament. Socialist and Democratic Progressive Alliance got 135 seats. Left groups got 36 seats in the European Union elections. Following the results, the Prime Minister of Belgium resigned. Along with the European Union elections, Belgium Parliament elections also took place. Belgium Workers' Party got 15 seats after 15 years of serious work. One worker also got elected as MP. Belgium Workers' Party campaigned on increasing public investments, keeping aloof the health sector from the private companies, taxation of the millionaires, and supportive Palestinian struggles. Right and far right forces which dominate in the new European Union Parliament follow the principles of prevention of migrants, border security, priority to domestic people's interests, subordination to NATO, and austerity measures against workers' interests. They want to establish the fascist idea that nothing could change in the minds of the people. Nothing changes in the minds of the people. In Italy, only 49.6% people voted. European Union elections could not find solutions to the existing social climate change crisis and to ending the military conflicts and wars. Coming at second, Argentina. Javier Milei, the rightist president of Argentina, South American country, introduced economic reforms. Expenses and social welfare schemes are reduced. People's rights are undermined. The bill is being debated in the parliament. In the capital, Buenos Aires, on 13th June, tens of thousands of people conducted street demonstrations against the economic reforms. Many got injured due to oppression by the security forces. 30 were detained. Third, ILO conference. In Geneva of Switzerland, ILO's annual conference took place on June 3 to 14. For the first time, two representatives of Nepal's community health workers took part in the conference. They are Basanti Maharjan and Geeta Devi T. There are 52,000 community health workers in Nepal, mostly women. They get annual honorariums of only $96 to $384. Though these workers do dedicated work, they are not recognized as workers. They are after all treated as just as volunteers. Nepal delegates spoke in the ILO conference, emphasizing decent living for them. They represented Public Service International. During the COVID-19 period, community health workers, just like our ICDS workers, community health workers of Asia and African countries did commendable job, but due recognition and decent life are not ensured. As the women, they are more and more exploited. Fourth, Chiquita is guilty. Chiquita Brands International, a US-based produce company, was found guilty by a federal jury in Florida of US of funding the right-wing United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, AUC, paramilitary group. The company was ordered to pay over $3.8 crore in damages to the families of the victims killed by the AUC forces it had financed. This is the first time a US jury holds a major US corporation accountable for being an accomplice in serious human rights abuses in another country. The ruling sets a precedent for the struggle for justice against bloodthirsty corporate greed. Comrades, next. In USA, Waffle House workers win wage revision. Waffle House is a US fast food giant company. In May, the workers of Waffle House got wage rise, unprecedented in 68 years of the company's existence. The workers joined the newly formed labor union, Union of Southern Service Workers, and struggled for wage rise. The union is organizing some of the most downtrodden, marginalized workers of low-wage sectors, including retail, fast food, care, and gas station workers in the southern states of US. Waffle House workers' victory was a direct result of the struggles of strikes, picketing, etc. Workers continue to put forward further demands to the company, including a livable wage of $25 per hour, as well as 24-hour security, and an end to mandatory meal deductions, in which Waffle House deducts a meal credit of at least $3 per shift, whether or not the workers eat the meal the company provides. Waffle House workers are urging the public to sign a petition to stand with the workers and their primary demands of the company. Federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour only. Next, comrades, presidential elections in Iran. The Iranian presidential elections was scheduled to take place next year only, but preponed to June 28 of this year due to the accidental death of the President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash on 19th May. 8 people died in the crash, including the President. Campaign for the 14th presidential elections began on 10th June. There are 6 approved final contestants in the election. Qalibaf, aged 62 years, Qalibaf, aged 62 years, is the current speaker of the Iranian parliament, the former mayor of Tehran, and a prominent conservative politician. He is considered as the leading contender for the post of the president this time. He is expected to continue the foreign and domestic policies which characterized Ibrahim Raisi's administration. Qalibaf is considered a close ally to the country's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. 80 people, including 4 women, had registered as candidates for the elections. The 12-member Constitution Council rejected many. Half of the council members are judges, and the other half are legal experts. As per Article 115 of the Iranian Constitution, only male members can contest for president's post. Therefore, the council rejected the names of 4 women candidates. Results will be declared on 8th July. Suppose no one crosses the required votes above 50%, re-election will take place between the 2 main contestants before 8th July. Comrades, next, Yemen bombed by US and UK. The US and the British have carried out over 487 operations against Yemen in the last 5 months. Their airstrikes and naval bombardments have killed over 55 Yemenis and wounded nearly 78 others. The US and the United Kingdom began launching joint airstrikes in Yemen in January in what they called a retaliation to Ansar Allah attacking ships bound to Israel through the Red Sea in opposition to its war on Palestinians in Gaza. Such attacks will not make Yemenis back down from supporting Gaza, claimed the Yemeni leader. Ansar Allah and Yemen's armed forces have launched hundreds of attacks on the ships going to Israel or belonging to its allies, such as the US and the UK, in the Red and Arabian Sea, forcing a large number of them to take a circuitous route through the Cape of the Good Hope, southernmost tip of African continent, to reach Israel. Yemen has claimed that the attacks will only stop when there is a ceasefire in Gaza. Al-Houthi also announced that Yemen has targeted the US carriers strike group Eisenhower in the Red Sea twice last week. Al-Houthi also alleged that apart from carrying out bombardments inside Yemen, the US is also trying to wage a war on the economic front against Yemen. Saudi Arabia has imposed a blockade on Yemen since the beginning of the war against the country in 2015. The war and the blockade have already caused suffering for millions of Yemenis in the form of lack of adequate food and medicines. Though Saudi Arabia's armed attacks against Yemen have reduced significantly since last year, it so far has refused to formally lift the blockade. Next, comrades, we go to Nigeria, an African country. Nigeria is a northwestern African country. The workers have gone on strike for the fourth time since Bola Tinubu took over as President of Nigeria. The trade unions have demanded monthly minimum wages of $330. The strike paralyzed the country. Power was disconnected. Airports, schools, offices and hospitals could not function due to the strike. The government promised to increase monthly minimum wage to $40 in Nigeria's currency, Naira, 60,000 Naira. This is double than the existing one. The workers expect at least $67, that is 1 lakh Naira, as minimum wages. Strike has been temporarily stopped. The government will hold negotiations daily for a week. Living expenses rose due to withdrawal of subsidy on fuel and failure to protect the value of falling Naira against dollar. Next, comrades, 61% of US people oppose US aid to Israel. On 8th June, 1 lakh US people surrounded the White House and conducted demonstrations against Israel's genocide and US complicity in Israel's war. Many wore red dresses. As per opinion poll of CBS News, 61% of US people oppose arms supply to Israel by US. Among the youth below 30 years, this is 77%. During the last 8 months, Palestine Solidarity Movement, along with many others, are involved in mass awareness campaign, protests in the street, preventing the transport, and putting encampments in the premises of the US universities. On 4th November, 5 lakh people took part in the protest. Capitalist corporate media hid the news on genocide, but people could see the genocidal scenes in the social media. In the ensuing presidential elections, Joe Biden's votes will decrease due to his complicity in Israel's genocidal war. Though International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister, he is going to address US Congress. The Solidarity Movement will again go on mass protests in Washington on the coming 24th July. Comrades, next. A commission was formed by the United Nations to go through to investigate Israel's crimes. The UN Commission on Israel's Crimes. The United Nations Human Rights Council's Independent Commission of Inquiry released its findings from Gaza on June 12, incriminating both the Israelis and the Palestinian groups of having committed war crimes in Gaza during the ongoing war. The report specifically accuses Israel of committing crimes against humanity of extermination, murder, gender persecution, targeting Palestinian men and boys, forcible transfer and torture, and inhuman and cruel treatment, and recommends accountability for such crimes. The 21-page report is based on an in-depth inquiry of the incidents between October 7, 2023 and December 31, 2023. The method of inquiry includes interviews with the victims and witnesses, reports, medical reports, satellite imagery, verified open source information and others. The report states that Israeli forces have committed forced starvation, murder or willful killing, collective punishment and intentional attacks on civilians during the war. Some of these acts are part of the Israeli occupation forces operating procedure also. Israel launched indiscriminate bombings on shelters and civilian homes and even torturing people under arrest. More than 37,000 Palestinians have been killed and over 85,000 others have been injured since October 7, 2023, with the indiscriminate bombing and ground offensive launched by Israel, destroying most of the civilian infrastructure in Gaza and displacing almost the entire population of over 20 lakhs. Though initially Palestinian groups had taken nearly 240 hostages, most of them were released during the temporary ceasefire in November 2023 in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners by Israel. A large number of hostages have also been reportedly killed in Israeli bombing since then. There are nearly 70 hostages still remaining in Gaza held by Palestinian groups. The report recommends the immediate cessation of all hostilities, the release of all hostages, and accountability for war crimes committed on both sides. Israel has refused to cooperate with the Commission of Inquiry, calling it biased. Israel accused the head of the commission, Navi Pillay, of anti-Semitism. Lastly, comrades, Hamas supports UN resolution. Hamas had agreed to a three-phase ceasefire resolution which was introduced by the United States and adopted by the United Nations Security Council on 10th June. With 14 out of 15 members voted in favor and only Russia abstaining. The resolution is divided into three phases, with the first phase being a 6-week ceasefire, entailing the exchange of women, elderly and wounded Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners, withdrawal of Israeli forces from populated areas, the return of Palestinians to their homes in Gaza, and the distribution of aid. The second phase includes a permanent end to the genocidal war, the exchange of remaining hostages for more Palestinian prisoners, and the complete withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces from Gaza. The third phase involves resistance force returning the bodies of deceased hostages and the beginning of a reconstruction plan for Gaza. Hamas and other Palestinian resistance organizations welcome the resolution. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine is suspicious of the U.S. moves. Secretary of American State Antony Blinken traveled to Israel on 11th June to meet with the Israeli officials to urge them to end the war in Gaza. Blinken still emphasized that the goal of the U.S. is also the defeat of Hamas. Israeli leaders have yet to come out with public support of the ceasefire resolution. Thank you, comrades. Salam. Meet you next week.